For more content like this, please hit like and subscribe. Between the Devil and the Divine, a gentle critique of Christianity's most dangerous idea. In his video, Christianity's Most Dangerous Idea and Why It Won't Die, Drew McCoy of Genetically Modified Skeptic offers a sharp and thoughtful exploration of the concept of supernatural evil in Christian theology and culture. Joined by Dr. David Laycock, a scholar of new religious movements and an expert on the satanic panics, McCoy examines how the idea of demonic influence has been used and misused throughout history and in the present day. The video rightly points out how this framework can foster fear, suppress dissent, and even justify violence under the guise of righteousness. I found myself agreeing with much of the video. It critiques a real and troubling tendency. Some Christians quickly divide the world into camps of good and evil, branding those who disagree with them as agents of Satan. The result is often a breakdown of civil discourse, a loss of humility, and, in extreme cases, the spiritual fuel for violence. But as a Christian myself, I'd like to offer a few nuanced reflections on this otherwise helpful piece, especially on the theological foundations and cultural parallels that merit a closer look. Number one, Manichaeism, not Christianity, is the deeper danger. The real culprit isn't a belief in spiritual warfare per se. It's a deeper, more ancient idea called Manichaeism, an ancient worldview that posits an eternal cosmic struggle between two equally powerful forces of good and evil. Christianity explicitly rejects this worldview. While the New Testament certainly speaks of invisible, malevolent entities, powers, and principalities, demons, even Satan, these are not co-equal with God. They are creatures, not creators, corruptions, not competitors. They represent that parts of God's world have fallen into sin and disrepair. The idea of spiritual warfare must be understood within the framework of Christianity, where there are real forces at work in our world contending with one another. The demonic is real but subordinate. Evil is parasitic, not generative. And while Christians are called to resist it, we're not to presume that we're automatically on the side of the angels, especially when we wield that confidence against other people. Number two, secular culture echoes these ideas, just in different language. Interestingly, even many non-religious thinkers operate with categories that closely mirror this spiritual conflict. They speak not of demons, but of memes, of mob mentality, of groupthink, or even mass psychosis. These are secular attempts to name the invisible forces that manipulate, possess, spread destructively through groups. And I think the language teases out some important dynamics, but it is an acknowledgement that there are forces at work, realities that are not strictly physical. In other words, spiritual warfare is a metaphor many use, whether they believe in angels or not. It's a way to describe how ideologies, narratives, and crowd behavior can override reason and compassion. McCoy is right to be cautious about religious language used to silence opponents, but this temptation is not confined to the religious right. In fact, it is rather widespread. This brings me to number three. Demonization isn't just a religious problem. The video focuses primarily on abuses within the Christian community, and particularly evangelical communities such as the Rainbow Revival Movement or Isaiah Salvador's demon-focused ministry. And it's true that apocalyptic or deliverance-obsessed ministries often cross lines into fear-mongering, into dividing up the world unnaturally. But as we've seen in recent years, the secular left often frequently uses moral absolutism and Manichaeism, the same rhetoric labeling political opponents as threats to democracy, fascist, or enemies of progress. For example, Joe Biden repeatedly framed the 2020 U.S. presidential election as a battle for the soul of the nation. Environmental activists have called anyone who worked for energy companies a climate sinner. Left-wing actors have said anyone who did not participate in political debate as sinning by omission because silence is violence. Some feminists have gone as far as to say, believe all women, as if all men were clearly bad and all women innocent. McCoy himself does not engage in this kind of rhetoric. In fact, one of the strengths of this video is his careful avoidance of caricature. But the broader cultural trend is worth naming. It is not only religious conservatives who struggle with binary thinking. The problem is deeper, it's anthropological, it's the temptation to justify ourselves at the expense of others. 4. Pop culture and the psychology of fear. The video helpfully explores how popular culture, from The Exorcist to modern horror genres, have shaped public perception of evil. Hollywood has turned the devil into a blockbuster villain. But in doing so, it has also encouraged Christians and non-Christians alike to imagine evil in spectacular, externalized forms, spinning heads, exorcism scenes, and demonic voices. This distracts us from the real idea behind Scripture's subtler vision of spiritual warfare. The satanic forces, the demonic forces in the world very seldom act in paranormal, supernatural ways, though they can. They more often act through very normal levers like pride and envy and deception and injustice. But not every bad mood or political disagreement is about the demonic. Sometimes the devil works just as well by dividing people, so they lack the ability to have civil conversation about their disagreements. Number 5, what if we're not the good guys? The most dangerous assumption in any spiritual worldview, religious or secular, is that we're the good guys. In Joshua 5, we have one of the most interesting stories, I think, in the entire Christian Jewish scriptures. In Joshua 5, the Israelite commander sees a warrior standing before him and realizes that this warrior is a supernatural angel of God. And he asks, are you for us or our enemies? The angelic figure, revealed to be an angel of the Lord, commander of the army of the Lord, responds, neither, and raises the question about whose side Joshua is on. It's a stunning moment. God refuses to take sides in human conflicts as we define them. He is not our mascot. The same wisdom appears in the words of Alexander Solzhenitsyn. He said, the line separating good and evil passes not through states, nor between classes, nor between political parties, but right through every human heart. That line runs through each of us, and that should make us humble, both in how we speak of demons and in how we speak of those we consider dangerous, lest we add to the danger by raising the rhetorical temperature. Conclusion: discernment, not dismissal. Drew McCoy's Genetically Modified Skeptic video invites a necessary and courageous conversation. It rightly challenges how theological language can be weaponized to stir panic, justify political violence, and shut down hard conversations. But the solution is not to reject all talk of spiritual conflict. It's to approach it with more wisdom, humility, and care. Christians would do well to remember spiritual warfare is not a license to judge, nor a call to look under every rock for a hidden demon, but a call to vigilance over one's own heart. And skeptics likewise can acknowledge that even in a secular world, the language of unseen influences, however we define them, remains inescapably human.